Today we're going to build a project from scratch, um, so you can see what that is like. Um, so I'll just jump right into it. This happens to be the finished project. But we go to File, New, Project, and now I want to use a target kit. That way the chipset will be set properly. All right, we'll click Next. And rather than any kind of example this time, we're going to create an empty schematic. And I don't want to use the same workplace, so I'm going to create a new one. For me, I'll just say Blink LED Part 2 because I'm doing it second time. It tends to put things in Documents, PSoC Creator. I want to go and put it in my particular spot that has the where everything is backed up to like Dropbox or something that's to the cloud. So, and I'm just gonna, maybe it could use a better name than bled too. Anyway, click finish. And then here is everything's blank. All right, so we need to add some things to do our blinking LED. And so the first thing we need to do is to add the LED itself. So we go over here to the component catalog off chip. Now these, there is an LED that comes with the kit that's already connected, but this isn't really part of programming the CPU. So we just left clicked on it and drag it out here and Control plus plus until we can kind of zoom in on it. All right. And to move it, you just left click and move things around. All right. We also need a resistor to make sure we don't burn it out. That would be under passives. And we can put it right there. Now, again, these aren't really configurable, right? These are off chip, but I'm going to put in 500 because that's about the resistance that should be used, right? These are things that are on the PCB kit that we're using. Also, it's good to have a ground. Again, the project will actually run without these, right? It's just it helps you to figure out what's going on. All right. So that we want something to turn this on and turn it off inside by pressing a switch. So we need a switch. So I'm just going to put that over on the left-hand side because we need a ground and electromechanical. And this is just the switch. But I want to rotate that so I can right click on that, configure shape, and rotate left. And then I just click on it and move that into position. All right. So these are all the off-chip components. And now I need an actual input pin to connect this to. And so that is something on the inside the CPU. And that would be under ports and pins. And we want a digital input pin. And I'll place it there. Now we need to configure this. So right click, configure, and it's we want it to initially be high, and then the drive mode we want resistive pull up. That means when we don't press the switch, this will naturally give a high input voltage. Apply and OK. Now, we could just kind of use this to directly connect it, but I wanted to show you how to work with the digital part. So let's come to logic and an AND gate. All right. And so an AND gate, both inputs have to be high or true for this to be um, on. Sorry, just want to do some cleanup here. All right. Now the thing is what do I set that to, right? And so all I need to do is there's a logic high, and just I can put it right there. So that will give me my input to this NAND gate. That'll always be high. And so this will be high if the switch isn't connected to ground. So it'll be out. That'll be high. I'll have a positive voltage here. The current will flow, voltage drop across the current limiting resistor, and the LED will turn on. Right? Now we need to wire things up, and you can click on the wire here, and then click on a left click here, then left click on the ending point. The dashes mean it's not on the CPU, really. Okay, that's how that works. But now when I connect one end, now I can just press the letter W, okay, and I can connect that. Pressing it again, I go from this port to this port, and see how it's green? That means it's really on the CPU, or I should say the PSoC. And we'll just connect everything else up. So it's well documented now. What's going on off the chip, you can put in texts and things like that. So let's build it. And we're getting mistakes, which happened to me when I was doing this, and I thought it would be good to show you what happens when a mistake is made. And it's complaining about nets being mismatched and multiple drivers and all of that. And maybe you saw it coming, right, when I did it, but I forgot to put an output pin, right? These are outside the chip, and there's no output pin there, and that was my mistake. So I'm just going to press delete and delete that, and now I need an output digital pin, digital output pin. And I just left click that and then drag it. And I guess I just don't like drawing wires over things. So I'm just going to select this whole part, right? Oops. And then I can move it all at once. Then I'm going to put this close by. And there's other ways that this can be done. Now I can just draw and wire things up. Now really the compiler environment doesn't really care about the rest of this. It just knows that it needed an output pin. And we'll just configure that. Right click configure, strong drive, initial drive state, digital output. It all looks good. Okay. And we will build it. And now we will program it. And I'm looking over at my board and nothing is happening. So I'm going to press the switch and nothing has happened. And that is because I made this mistake before, so I can tell you, but I think it will be a common mistake, is that I did the pins wrong. Okay. And so Just like if you were to build a project out of discrete components, plug them into your board, it's easy to put the wire into the wrong slot and your project won't work. Well, the same thing here. And so I have pin 1 going to P0, 1, and pin 2 going to P0, 0. Well, those on the kit don't line up to the switch that comes pre-installed or the LED that comes pre-installed. And so pin 1 and pin 2 aren't actually very meaningful. So when I want to go fix this, it's probably better to even fix these names. So rather than leaving that called pin 1, we'll configure it and we'll call it pin switch. Now I can much more easily remember what I'm doing. And we'll configure that, right click, configure, and we'll call that pin LED. Apply. Okay. So now I know which, what goes where, right? It's got a nice name. So I come back to the pins, and so now I just have to find out where are these pins. Well, it's actually right on